Welcome to Statesphere, where we explore the critical issues shaping societies and spark discussions that matter. Today, we embark on a journey through Pakistan's constitutional history, focusing on significant amendments that have redefined the nation's governance. Understanding these changes is crucial to comprehending the current political landscape and the evolution of democratic processes in Pakistan. Before we explore the amendments that have shaped Pakistan, let's start with the fundamental question. What is a constitution? A constitution is the supreme law of a country. It serves as a blueprint for governance, defining how power is shared between institutions and the people. At its core, a constitution has three essential roles. Framework of government. It sets up structure of the state, identifying the roles of the executive, legislature, and judiciary. For example, Pakistan Constitution establishes a parliamentary democracy, where the Prime Minister is the head of the government and the President serves as the ceremonial head of state. Separation of powers. A good constitution ensures checks and balances to prevent any branch of government from becoming too powerful. Take the US Constitution, for instance. It created three co-equal branches: Congress, legislative, the President, executive, and the Supreme Court, judicial. Rights and freedoms. Constitutions also safeguard the fundamental rights of citizens, including freedom of speech, equality before the law, and protection from discrimination. For example, Pakistan's constitution guarantees these rights under Articles 8 to 28, ensuring justice and equality for all citizens. Globally, constitutions can differ. Countries like the United Kingdom operate with an unwritten constitution, relying on laws and traditions. Others, like India and Pakistan, have written constitutions detailing every aspect of governance. A strong constitution reflects the values of a nation, ensuring order, justice, and accountability. It is a living document adapting to the needs of the society through amendments, changes that allow the constitution to evolve with time. The 1973 Constitution is the cornerstone of Pakistan's governance and legal system. It was enacted on August 14, 1973 during the leadership of Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, after extensive deliberation and agreement across political parties. This was the third constitution in Pakistan's history, but unlike its predecessors, it was designed to create a more democratic and inclusive framework. The constitution laid the foundations for Pakistan as a federal parliamentary republic, where power would be shared between the federal government and the provinces. Let's break this down. Federal structure. The constitution divided governance into three tiers: federal, provincial, and local levels, ensuring representation for all regions. Parliamentary democracy. The system established a legislature consisting of the National Assembly, the lower house, for direct elective representatives like the MNAs or member national assemblies, the Senate, upper house, where members are elected by the provinces for equal provincial representation. Separation of powers. The Constitution clearly defines the role of executive, legislature, and judiciary, ensuring a balance of power and checks and balances. Fundamental rights. It guarantees essential rights including equality before the law, freedom of speech and religion, the right to education, and protection of minorities. Islam as the state religion. While upholding democratic values, the Constitution declared Islam as the state religion, requiring all laws to align with Islamic principles. The 1973 Constitution marked a turning point in Pakistan's history, aiming to unite the country under a single legal framework. However, subsequent amendments and political shifts often altered its original spirit, leading to significant debate on governance, autonomy, and power distribution. The Eighth Amendment, enacted in 1985 during General Zia-ul-Haq's military regime, was a turning point in Pakistan's political history. It introduced substantial changes to the 1973 Constitution, primarily aimed at consolidating the president's power. Presidential powers. The amendment granted the president the authority to dissolve the National Assembly and dismiss the Prime Minister under Article 58(2)(b), fundamentally altering the parliamentary structure. This shifted Pakistan closer to a semi-presidential system, weakening the Prime Minister's authority. Legalizing martial law. The amendment retroactively validated all actions taken during Zia's martial law, effectively shielding his regime from legal challenges. Islamization policies. The Eighth Amendment further embedded Zia's Islamization agenda into the Constitution, including provisions for Sharia law, Hudud ordinances, and the establishment of the Federal Shariat Court. While the amendment was justified as a measure to maintain stability during a turbulent period, critics argue that it undermined democracy by concentrating power in the presidency. The long-term impact was evident in subsequent political instability, with multiple assemblies dismissed under Article 58(2)(b). The 13th and 14th Amendments, passed in 1997 during Nawaz Sharif's second term as Prime Minister, were a bold move to restore parliamentary supremacy. The 13th Amendment directly addressed the imbalances created by the 8th Amendment, eliminating presidential authority. The amendment repealed Article 58(2)(b), stripping the President of the power to dissolve the National Assembly. This restored the Prime Minister's authority as the head of the executive branch, strengthening parliamentary democracy. By curtailing the President's role, the amendment reinforced the principle of parliamentary sovereignty, ensuring that elected representatives, not the President, held the power to determine the Assembly's fate. Further, the 13th Amendment also made changes to Article 1011 of the Constitution, where the words "after consultation with" were replaced with "on the advice of." This allowed the Prime Minister to indirectly appoint a governor. This amendment was celebrated as a step towards democracy. However, critics argue that it concentrated power in the hands of the Prime Minister, limiting checks and balances within the system. The 14th Amendment, on the other hand, ensured that there could be no dissent in any political party and no defection from the latter. It was passed by both houses of Parliament on the same day that it was introduced. The 13th Amendment, along with the 14th Amendment, removed most checks and balances on the Prime Minister's power. This contributed to the popular support for General Pervez Musharraf's coup in 1999. The 18th Amendment, enacted in 2010, is often regarded as the most transformative reforms in Pakistan's history. It addressed the long-standing issue of power centralization and restored the federal spirit of the 1973 Constitution. It addressed long-standing issues of power centralization and restored the federal spirit of the 1973 Constitution. The amendment abolished the concurrent legislative list, transferring control over key subjects like health, education, and agriculture to the provinces. Provincial assemblies were empowered to legislate on these matters, ensuring governance decisions reflected local needs. Presidential powers. The President's ability to dissolve the National Assembly under Article 58(2)(b) was permanently removed. Judicial independence. The process for judicial appointments was redefined through the establishment of the Judicial Commission of Pakistan, ensuring greater transparency. Renaming provinces. The amendment renamed the Northwest Frontier Province (NWFP) to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, acknowledging the Pashtun identity. While the 18th Amendment was hailed as a victory for democracy and federalism, it also sparked debate over implementation challenges, such as unequal resource distribution and provincial capacities to manage devolved subjects. The 21st Amendment, passed in 2015, was a direct response to the tragic Army Public School (APS) Peshawar attack that claimed over 140 lives. The attack shook the nation and led to urgent calls for action against terrorism. Establishing military courts. The amendment created special military courts to try terrorism-related offenses, bypassing the regular judicial process. These courts were intended to expedite justice and address delays in the civilian legal system. 2-year validity. The amendment had a sunset clause, meaning it was initially valid for 2 years, after which it required renewal. Controversy and human rights. While the amendment was seen as necessary for national security, it faced criticism for comprising the right to fair trial and judicial independence. The 21st Amendment remains a contentious chapter in Pakistan's legal history, reflecting the delicate balance between security and civil liberties. The 26th Amendment, passed in October 2024, marks a major shift in Pakistan's judicial landscape, sparking widespread debate about judicial independence and parliamentary oversight. Judicial appointments. Under the 26th Amendment, the appointment of the Chief Justice of Pakistan is no longer based solely on seniority. Instead, a special parliamentary committee selects the Chief Justice from the 3 most senior judges of the Supreme Court. Fixed tenure. The Chief Justice now serves a fixed term of 3 years, introducing leadership stability while preventing indefinite extensions. Constitutional Bench. The amendment establishes a dedicated constitutional bench within the Supreme Court to handle matters related to constitutional disputes and interpretations. Limitation of suo motu powers. Previously, the Supreme Court could initiate cases on its own through suo motu powers. The amendment now restricts this authority, requiring a formal request from an aggrieved party to trigger judicial action. Public debate and concerns. Supporters argue that these changes enhance parliamentary accountability and streamline the judicial process. Critics, however, see this as an attempt to erode the judiciary's independence by increasing political influence over judicial appointments and decisions. The 26th Amendment has sparked a national conversation about the separation of powers, the role of the judiciary, and the future of democracy in Pakistan. Its long-term implications will depend on its implementation and the political landscape moving forward. Each amendment has left a mark on Pakistan's political fabric, from centralizing and decentralizing powers to addressing security concerns and judicial independence. These constitutional changes reflect the nation's ongoing struggle to balance authority, democracy, and governance. Understanding these constitutional amendments offers insight into Pakistan's evolving democracy and its challenges. As citizens, staying informed and engaged is vital to ensuring that the future changes align with the nation's democratic ideas and the people's aspirations. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Pakistan's constitutional journey. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to Statesphere for more insightful content.